Ron. I. Canella. I. Corbett. I. Correa. I. De Leon. DeSaulnier. I. Dutton. Emerson. I. Evans. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. No. Hancock.
Aye.
I. Harmon. Hernandez. I. Huff. No. Kehoe.
Aye.
I. Lamalfa. Leno. I. Ted Lieu. I. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Negrete McLeod. I. Padilla. I. Pavley. I. Price. Rubio. I. Runner. Semidian. Steinberg. I. Strickland. I. Vargas. I. Walters. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Anderson. No. Blakesley. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Dutton. No. Harmon. Lamalfa. Aye. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Price. Runner. Semidian. Semidian, aye.
Ayes 31. Ayes 31. Noes 4. The measure passes. File item 216. Mr. Dutton, prepared to take that one up? File item 216. We can come back to it when you're ready. File item 217, Mr. Wright. Senator Wright will take that up. The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 692 by Assemblymember Hall, enacting into public employment.
Senator Wright.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, AB 692 deals with the State Personnel Board. One of the things that happens now is that if someone's terminated and they're filing an appeal, that appeal could take up to 2 years. And in that instance, that employee is not receiving any pay. He remains in limbo, is not sure to go look for another job or try to do something else in the meantime. This bill would simply say that those appeals would receive priority at the State Personnel Board because there are a number of things that they take up that are not terminations, that don't have the financial implications that some of the appeals do. And so this would give the person an up or down vote on whether or not his appeal is going to be granted. It doesn't mandate how the appeal should work out. It simply gives priority to the appeal in the process so that a person isn't waiting 2 years to get an appeal heard as opposed to someone else who's waiting to hear whether or not another job action that doesn't have the financial ramifications of the appeal does. That's what the bill does. There's not much formal opposition that I'm aware of. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Blakesley. Berryhill, no. Blakesley. Calderon. Canella. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. Lamalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee.
Call the absent
Aye.
members. Call the absent members.
Blakesley. No. Calderon. Aye. Correa. Aye. Dutton. Evans. Aye. Gaines. No. Harmon. Lamalfa. No. Runner. Steinberg. Steinberg, aye.
Members, that is ayes 27, noes 10. The measure passes. File item 218, no manager. File item 219. Mr. Vargas, the Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 795 by Assembly Member Block, enacting to public post-secondary education.
Thank you very much, Madam President and members. In 2003, I authored a bill prohibiting smoking within 20 feet of main entrances, exits, and operable windows of any building owned, leased, and occupied by the state, county, or city, and buildings of the University of California, California State University, and the California Community Colleges. Assembly Bill 846 became a law aimed at protecting Californians from the harmful effects of secondhand smoke by expanding smoke-free zones around public buildings. Since that time, advocates and school officials have said that additional tools for enforcing college campus smoking policies are needed because many people don't follow the law. AB 75 does just that. AB 795 would give authority to any California community college campus, campus of the California State University, or campus of the University of California to enforce local and campus-wide smoking and tobacco regulations and policies. By adding enforcement language to the government code, colleges will have the authority to cite and collect revenue as a form of enforcement, and it will ensure that people will follow the smoking policies set forth. AB 795 is a common sense measure that will hopefully protect the public from the dangers of secondhand smoke and give college campuses the tools they need to enforce current smoking policies. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Vargas. Is there debate or discussion on the measure? Any debate? Seeing none, Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Wyland. Aye. Yee.
Call the
Yee,
absent
aye.
members.
Evans. Aye. Harmon. Price. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Wright. Wright, aye.
Ayes 29, noes 9. The measure passes. Members will take up file item 218. Senator Pavley is the floor manager. The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 764 by Assembly Member Swanson, enacting to taxation.
Senator Pavley.
Yes, thank you very much. Members, Assembly Bill 764 by Assembly Member Swanson will allow Californians to make contributions from their income taxes to organizations that offer wraparound services to sexually exploited minors, a very good cause. SB 764 will facilitate treatment services by allowing individual taxpayers to contribute money to community-based organizations that serve minor victims of human trafficking. Obviously, this will go on the tax form as soon as space is available, and should it get on the tax form, will remain there for 5 years unless it is repealed earlier for failing to meet the minimum contribution amount, which is now $250,000. I ask for your support of this important measure on behalf of children.
Is there debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines.
You should have tried to.
No. Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. I Huff. I Kehoe. I Lamalfa. I Leno. I Ted Lieu. I Carol Lieu. I Lowenthal. I Negrete McLeod. I Padilla. I Pavley. I Price. I Rubio. I Runner Semidian. I Steinberg. Strickland. I Vargas. I Walters. I Wolk. I Wright. I Wyland. I Yee. Yee I.
Call the absent members.
De Leon. I Hancock. I Harmon. Runner. Steinberg.
Ayes 36, noes 1. The measure passes. We are at file item 220, members. File item 19 has been dispensed with. Senator DeSaulnier, the Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 1027 by Assemblymember Buchanan, enacting to local publicly owned electric utilities.
Senator DeSaulnier.
Thank you, Madam President. AB 1027 does two things. It provides for a public and open, transparent process when public utilities want to raise rates for putting in structure and pole supports. It also requires that they can only charge a rate increase directly to what the costs are. For instance, right now, for investor-owned utilities, these costs range from $5 to $15, while public utilities range from $10 to $75. So to make this fair, I would ask for your aye vote.
Any debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. I Anderson. I Berryhill. I Blakesley. I Calderon. I Canella. Corbett. I Correa. De Leon. I DeSaulnier. I Dutton. Emerson. I Evans. I Fuller. I Gaines. I Hancock. I Harmon Hernandez. I Huff. I Kehoe.
Aye.
I Lamalfa. I Leno. I Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. I Negrete McLeod. I Padilla. I Pavley. I Price. I Rubio. I Runner Semidian. I Steinberg. Strickland. I Vargas. I Walters. I Wolk. I Wright. I Wyland. I Yee. Yee I.
Call the absent members.
Canella. Correa. I. Dutton. I. Harmon. Ted Lieu. I. Carol Lieu. Runner. Steinberg.
Ayes 35, noes 0. The measure passes. And members, we are at file item 221, and there's no floor manager. If you are a floor manager and the file doesn't reflect that, just raise your hand or come and tell me. We'd be happy to accommodate you. We want to dispense with as many items as possible. So 221 has no floor manager. 222 has no floor manager. 223 has no floor manager. 224, Mr. Canella, the Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 1111 by Assemblymember Fletcher, enacting to debt collection.
Senator Canella.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise this afternoon to present AB 1111, which would temporarily delay wage garnishment for homeless youth. With nowhere to go, homeless youth are frequently ticketed for loitering, truancy, and curfew violations. If, in fact, a youth is able to find employment, wage garnishment can prevent them from getting back onto their feet. Their paycheck will be used to pay fines rather than food, rent, or other essentials. This bill would simply delay wage garnishment until the age of 25. Citations can still be levied and additional penalties can still accrue. This bill provides homeless youth an opportunity to lead a decent life. This bill passed the Assembly unanimously and passed Senate Public Safety Committee with bipartisan support. I urge your aye vote.
Debate or discussion, members? Any debates? Seeing none. Can we consider a unanimous roll call for this item, members? Call the roll.
Alquist. I. Anderson. I. Berryhill. Blakesley. I. Calderon. I. Canella. I. Corbett. I. Correa. I. De Leon. DeSaulnier. I. Dutton. Emerson. I. Evans. I. Fuller. Gaines. Hancock. I. Harmon. Hernandez. I. Huff. Kehoe.
Aye.
I. LaMalfa. No. Leno. I. Ted Lieu. I. Carol Lieu. I. Lowenthal. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Padilla. I. Pavley. I. Price. I. Rubio. I. Runner. Semidian. I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. I. Vargas. I. Walters. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee. I.
All the absent members.
De Leon. I. Berryhill. Dutton. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Harmon. Huff. No. Runner. Walters. No.
Ayes 31, members. Ayes 31, noes 5. The measure passes. File item 225 has no floor manager. File item 226 is being amended. File item 227 has no floor manager. File item 228, Senator Ted Lieu. The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 1386 by Assemblymember Bradford, enacting to women, minority, and disabled veteran business enterprise procurement.
Senator Lieu.
Thank you, Madam President and members. As the state and federal government make public funds available to expand broadband services in rural and underserved urban communities, it is important that we encourage companies that will benefit from these funds to provide contract opportunities to small businesses owned by women, minorities, and disabled veterans. AB 1386 will do this by encouraging cable television corporations and direct broadcast satellite providers to voluntarily adopt a plan for increasing women, minority, and disabled veteran business enterprise procurement, and to voluntarily report activity in this area to the legislature on an annual basis. Respectfully request an aye vote.
Any debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. No. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. I. Dutton. No. Emerson. No. Evans. I. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. I. Harmon. Hernandez. I. Huff. No. Kehoe. I. LaMalfa. No. Leno. I. Ted Lieu. I. Carol Lieu. I. Lowenthal. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Padilla. I. Pavley. Price. I. Rubio. I. Runner. Semidian. I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. Vargas. I. Walters. No. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee. I.
Call the absent members.
Canella. I. Harmon. Pavley. I. Runner. Strickland.
Ayes 36, noes 11. Ayes 26, excuse me. Ayes 26 members, noes 11, and that measure passes. File item 229 has no manager. File item 230 has no manager. File item 231, Senator Lieu, the Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 90 by Assemblymember Swanson, enacting to human trafficking.
Senator Lieu.
Thank you, Madam President and Senators. More than 300,000 children are brought and sold into sexual slavery each year in our country, and domestic sex trafficking has nearly doubled since 2006. Child sex trafficking is so profitable that many drug dealers are changing professions. Drug dealers feel safer peddling our children than peddling sex. It's not acceptable that our children are commodities on the street. AB 90 gets rid of the profit incentive by expanding the types of human trafficking crimes that are subject to criminal profiteering asset forfeiture and making the profits available for commercially sexually exploited minors. Respectfully request an aye vote. Thank you.
Is there debate or discussion, members? Can we consider, is there any objection to a unanimous roll call? Any objection? All right. Ayes 38, noes 0. That measure is adopted. Oh, there is objection. Beg your pardon? We will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. LaMalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye.
Call the absent members.
Canella. De Leon. Aye. Harmon. Kehoe.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. Wright.
Ayes 36, no 0. The measure passes. File item 232, Senator Lowenthal. He's passing on that. File item 233, Senator Wyland. The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 507 by Assemblymember Hayashi, enacting to public health.
Senator Wyland.
Thank you, Madam President. AB 507 makes a minor change to the Act that protects patients receiving pain medication. It simply states that they cannot be harassed by the Department of Justice if they've been properly prescribed that medication. It's sponsored by the American Cancer Society. I urge your aye vote.
Any debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Berryhill. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. Gaines. Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe.
Aye.
Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye.
Call the absent members.
Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. No. Canella. No. Correa. Evans. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Harmon. LaMalfa. No. Pavley. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye to no.
Aye.
Correa, aye.
Call the absent members.
Hancock. Harmon. Pavley. Runner.
All right, that is ayes 27, noes 9. The measure passes. We are at file item 234, Senator Ted Lieu. Oh, beg your pardon, Senator Carol Lieu. And Senator Lieu passes. File item 235, no manager. File item 236, Senator Price. The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 38 by Assemblymember Bradford, enacting to banking development districts.
Senator Price.
Thank you, Madam President. Over 1.5 million of our residents do not have an account with a bank or credit union. As a result, many families have no other option other than turning to more expensive financial services such as check cashers or payday lenders that can cost families up to $40,000 in a lifetime. Market research also indicates that Fresno and Los Angeles have the second highest and third highest percentages of unbanked residents in the county. AB 38 would require the Department of Financial Institutions to work with local agencies to identify areas in California that lack depository institutions and post this information on their website. By shining light in these regions, we are encouraging the state, local agencies, and community-based organizations to work collaboratively and find solutions geared toward banking the unbanked. AB 38 is supported by the City of Los Angeles, Alameda County Board of Supervisors, the California Bankers Association, California Credit Union League, and the Green Line Institute, amongst others. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there debate or discussion on the measure? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. No. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. De Leon. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. No. Evans. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe.
Aye.
Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. No. Yee. Yee. Aye. Strickland. No.
Call the absent members.
Anderson. No. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Harmon. Ted Lieu. Aye. Pavley. Runner.
Ayes 25, noes 12. The measure passes, members. Now we're at file item 237. I'll pass for now. File item 238, Senator Walters. Senator Walters passes. File item 239, Senator Lowenthal. Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 339 by Assemblymember Bonilla, enacting to instructional materials.
Thank you, Madam President. It's a pleasure to see your smiling face up there leading us at AB 339 simply reinstates the statutory authority regarding social content review that sunsets on January 1, 2011. This bill would require the State Board of Education to once again enact a process to govern the social content review of instructional materials outside of the primary adoption process and allows a fee to be charged to cover the cost. This bill now will sunset, if passed and signed by the governor, on January 1st, 2017. Members, without this bill, local school districts will be left to conduct their own costly review of instructional materials for out-of-cycle social content. Not only will this place an additional burden on local school districts, but it will also create the possibility of inconsistencies in social content from district to district. AB 339 is supported by the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson, and has no opposition. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Canella. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Dutton. No. Emerson. No. Evans. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. I, Carol Liu. I, Lowenthal.
Aye.
I, Negrete McLeod. I, Padilla. I, Pavley. Price. I, Rubio. I, Runner, Semidian. Steinberg. I, Strickland. No, Vargas. I, Walters. No, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. No, Yee. Yee,
Call
aye.
the absent members.
Anderson. No. Blakesley. No. Correa. No. DeSaulnier. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. Pavley. Runner. Semidian. Semidian, aye.
Ayes 22, noes 14. The measure passes. Next is file item 240. Senator Emerson. The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 427 by Assembly Member John A. Perez, enacting to transportation.
Senator Emerson.
Thank you, Madam President. Assembly Bill 427 increases the efficiency of the Proposition 1B Transit Security Bond Program to ensure the timely delivery and comprehensive use of these important capital project funds. This bill provides a mechanism to identify stalled bond funds and allows regional transit agencies and Cal EMA to redirect bond funds to ready-to-go transit system safety, security, and disaster response projects. Will only do that in cases where eligible agencies signals that they do not have needs for the funds. AB 427 has bipartisan support and has received no opposition. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. I, Anderson. I, Berryhill. I, Blakesley. I, Calderon. Canella. Calderon, I, Canella. I, Corbett. I, Correa. I, De Leon. I, DeSaulnier. Dutton. I, Emerson. I, Evans. I, Fuller. I, Gaines. I, Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. I, Huff. I, Kehoe. I, LaMalfa. I, Leno. I, Ted Lieu. Carol Liu. I, Lowenthal. I, Negrete McLeod. I, Padilla. I, Pavley. Price. I, Rubio. I, Runner, Semidian. I, Steinberg. I, Strickland. I, Vargas. I, Walters. I, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. I, Yee.
Call the absent
Yee, aye.
members.
DeSaulnier. Hancock. Harmon. Ted Lieu. I, Pavley. Runner. DeSaulnier, aye.
That is 36 ayes, noes 0. The measure passes. Members, we will go to file item 163. Senator Wolk will present. The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 46 by Assembly Member John A. Perez, enacting to local government.
Senator Wolk.
Thank you, Madam President and members. I am very pleased to present AB 46 on behalf of Speaker Perez, which will create a process to disincorporate any city with a population of fewer than 150 residents as of January 1st, 2010. Any disincorporated city would become an part of the unincorporated territory of its respective county. The Speaker has a companion bill to this, which is AB 781, which creates the how this disincorporation would take place, and it creates a successor governance structure and provides protections for businesses and jobs. It is not before us today. What is before us is the threshold question of disincorporation, AB 46. There are actually 3 parts to this. The first is the question of whether the legislature has the right to disincorporate a city. And then the second piece of this is, should it be done? Shall we vote to do that? The third piece, as I said, is how that would come about. The protections that are granted to businesses, that's in AB 781, and that would be before us at another time tomorrow. They are joined. You can't have AB 46 without AB 781. So let's look at the first part. Does the legislature have the right to disincorporate a community, a city? One of the, as the chair of Governance and Finance, one of the most interesting discussions that I've had in a long time has been with Professor Kathleen Sullivan, a distinguished professor of constitutional law who came into many of our offices to argue that, in fact, that this was not a constitutional act. And on the other hand, you had Professor and Dean Erwin Chemerinsky, who in fact argues that, in fact, the legislature has the authority to disincorporate. And I quote from Professor Chemerinsky's analysis: the legislature unquestionably has the power to strip cityhood from a community, from Vernon. The legislature must decide whether it's desirable, but we clearly have the constitutional authority to disincorporate a city. The creation, alteration, or and I quote from the court, from the Supreme Court, the creation, alteration, or disincorporation of municipal corporations is a matter entirely within the control of the legislature. So we must decide whether the corruption that has been exposed in Vernon, or the way the community, the city, has organized itself justifies disincorporation, and if so, how best to provide for the governance of this area. That's the question before us. There is no independent electorate in Vernon that can stand up against the corruption and mismanagement in the city. It is an extraordinary record. It had no council elections between 1980 and 2005. The last time a current city council member joined the council by election, Richard Nixon was president. The 96 residents of Vernon live in city-owned subsidized housing. And in the past 2 years alone, there has been an extraordinary train of abuses, credible corruption. In the past 2 years alone, 3 key officials have been indicted on voter fraud and misappropriation of public funds. The current city council has voted for lavish salaries, pension benefits, and travel for city leaders and their friends and families. One former city administrator receives the largest pension in the state, more than $500,000 a year, even after he pleaded guilty to fraud. The city has been engaging in deals that have spiked the city's bond debt ratio to about $5.4 million per resident. For San Francisco to have a similar debt ratio, it would have to owe $4.3 trillion. Between 2005 and 2010, Vernon has had more than 34 law firms doing legal work for the city, paying more than $54 million in legal fees. Just last week, the LA Times, which has been following this, has revealed that the IRS is investigating some of these shady bond deals. And while these investigations have proceeded and Vernon's finances were tanking, the city elected officials and administrators responsible for the mismanagement received extremely high salaries and incredible pension and benefits, including reimbursements for all medical expenses that for one council member alone totaled $100,000. In the past year, 3 officials have pled guilty or been convicted of felony corruption charges, and many more are under investigation. The lack of a truly independent electorate, as well as government transparency and accountability, has allowed Vernon to engage in the very unusual activities that have crossed at times into illegality. There are many supporters of this action. The City of LA has a support, if amended, position. The County of LA, the Mayor of the City of Los Angeles, the Mothers of East Los Angeles, SEIU, Communication Workers of America, and surrounding cities like the City of Maywood, and many others. I would ask for your aye vote.
Members will take up debate on the measure. Senator Huff, followed by Senator Steinberg, followed by Senator Calderon. Senator Huff.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in opposition to this bill. The previous speaker talked about investigations, felony charges, convictions, and I highlight that because that says the process works. Nobody wants to have cities or any level of government that are involved in these types of actions, and so there are consequences when we do step across the line, we do things that are not in accordance with the law. So the City of Vernon has made changes. I'm not here to defend what they've done in the past. I'm not here to do that at all. I'm here to give a second opinion. Coming from local government, having served for 9 years in local government, I developed a strong concern when higher levels of government seek to change the rules. Because we did set up a set of rules for local government to work by. We may not like all the actions going down there, may want to change some of the rules, but if I were the legislator that represented this area, I would want to be more involved in solutions, not just disincorporating it. I would want to be involved in trying to define the problem and trying to come up with solutions. And yet, this is being handled in a different way that should create some concern, because when it comes to who we, the legislature, picks as winners and losers, there will be winners and losers. And it becomes a slippery slope when you start to change the rules to disincorporate one city. Let's think about this in a different context. We've been talking jobs a lot. In fact, we were supposed to be focusing on jobs these last couple of weeks of the session. And here's a city that has 50,000 jobs. They have done some things wrong in their own governance. They have done some things right in creating jobs. And one thing that businesses like is certainty. And so when we as a state start to change the rules of the organizations under which they're doing business, we create uncertainty for business as well. So once again, while our intentions may be good here, trying to clean up political corruption, there's other ways to do that. And inadvertently, in supporting this bill today, we can help put another tear into the fabric of stability for our job community that we say we're trying to do. I certainly respect that there's a problem and we need to find a solution, but that solution may be to let things work as they are and revisit this a ways down the road. Another solution has been put forth by Senator De Leon. He has a plan, and I think perhaps we should take that and let that work out as well. Thank you.
Senator Steinberg.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This bill comes under the category of sticky wicket, not a legal term, by the way. You have the Speaker of the State Assembly. You have the lead senator, from the red carpet, both in the same district, arguing essentially about different means to the same end. Members will listen to this debate and vote their best judgment. I want to say to the Speaker, no matter what the outcome of this bill, your effort is a clear victory for reform. Thanks to you, and thanks to Senator De Leon, Vernon has now been pushed to a promise of change. Will they follow through? Only time will tell. For me, I will vote for the bill. The corruption has been undeniable. But my reasons are slightly different and from maybe a wider plane. I love the history and the culture of our cities in California. But someday, when the first extraterrestrial life visits California, they will undoubtedly ask, why do you allow thousands of separate governments, each difficult to scrutinize or oversee, each duplicating overhead and bureaucracy, each with their own cost center, all at a time when we don't have enough money to provide enough education and services for the people? Whether it is now or sometime in the future, this legislature and the public will have its eye on this city, the city of Vernon, and other cities. For the status quo represented by the history of this city will not stand.
Senator Calderon.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I do have a question for the floor manager.
Senator Wolk, will you take a question from Senator Calderon?
Absolutely.
Senator Calderon, go ahead.
Thank you. Senator Wolk, have you seen the 7-page letter sent by Senator DeLeon on the city of Vernon?
I saw it last week, yes.
After reviewing it, what's your opinion? I mean, do you agree the reforms therein are serious, substantive, comprehensive, a serious attempt at fixing the corruption problem?
I think they are. It's a serious proposal. The problem is there is no way to guarantee whatsoever that they will be followed through. You rely on the same corrupt system in the city in order to put forward those changes. It will not happen.
Thank you. On my own time, Madam President? You know, I've looked at these reforms. They go through, there's actually 7 different areas that they address. I'm going to let Senator DeLeon explain that to you when he gets a chance to speak. But I think it's important that we take a real serious look at what we're doing here. Tomorrow, me and some other leaders in this House are going to be rolling out a regulatory streamlining reform bill that's going to attempt to create more jobs in California and address this economy seriously. And we're looking at a measure that will take away 50,000 jobs, 11,000 just in my district alone. That's in this era, in this time, in this bad economy. Whether anybody wants to look at corruption, you know, the FBI, the DA, the U.S. Attorney, you know, they're doing their job in ending corruption in these local governments and in any government. But I think transparency is a good thing, and I support that. But if you read these reforms, they're serious, they're real, and there is a way, in my opinion, to monitor the reform and to see it through. Assuming that the city embraces all the critical path reforms, and after all these steps are taken, and Vernon continues to subvert and frustrate the implementation of these reforms, then I would be fully prepared to support disincorporation of the city of Vernon. At that point, we'll know that the city's beyond being saved, and until that time, however, I'm not prepared to jeopardize 50,000 jobs, all good-paying jobs, by disincorporating the city. I urge a no vote.
Senator Lowenthal.
Thank you, Madam President, members. Well, I stand, or maybe barely get up here to stand up. I'm between what is known as the proverbial between a rock and a hard place. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying I really commend the Speaker for really exposing an intolerable situation in the city of Vernon, where people with less than 150 residents for many years This is a city where every resident had to live in either city-owned housing and still does, or work for the city. Members, this is a city in name only. However, having said that, we have allowed the city to go on. It has been incorporated. I think disincorporation has tremendous risks also. It has to be thought out. I recently visited Vernon and listened to the cries of the business community there that's saying that what we need in these economically difficult times is stability. We have thousands and thousands of workers in good-paying jobs. We're here because of the stability. It may be a corrupt city. We know that we haven't been that involved in it. But to disincorporate puts all of our businesses at risk at this time. So I listened to both sides, knowing that the speaker is right. There is tremendous problems here. I personally don't think that you can just reform a city that never should have been, but I think there must be other alternatives, whether they should formally engage in a process to join with other cities that are right near to really form a real city. I'm not sure. I just am not prepared yet to put, at this economic time, to put this city at risk. So at that point, I will not be supporting the bill. But I am very leery of that we're really going to be able to work something out. I would like to see other kinds of alternatives. I just think it's too big a step at this point to disincorporate. But I am troubled, and I really do wish to commend the Speaker for being the one person to stand up and see injustice and see how this has never been a city.
Later. Senator DeSaulnier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vernon's a long way from home for me. I did take a tour of it, and I've teased Mr. DeLeon about its walkability or lack thereof. So maybe Mr. DeLeon and his comments or the jockey, Senator Wolk, can answer the question, but it occurs to me from a distance that we're all after the same thing. I've heard Senator Calderon, Senator Lowenthal, the Speaker. I've talked to a couple times about this is Senator Steinberg. We're all against corruption. We know there was corruption. In my mind's eye, 150 people really does not constitute a city, and there are good jobs here. So it strikes me if there's the possibility of incorporating all the good suggestions that Senator DeLeon had, but basically setting a trigger, and we talked about this, I think Senator Hancock brought it up, could you frame it in such a way that if these reforms that Senator DeLeon and his district brought up last week, if they didn't come to fruition within a certain period of time, then the rest of the bill would take effect. So I just bring that up as sort of a question. It was Senator Hancock's brilliant idea, so I don't want to take her idea away, but maybe you can address that.
Senator Pavley.
Yes, thank you very much. I've been listening carefully to the discussion, and it sounds like it's going to be an ongoing issue that may be resolved temporarily for today one way or another, but the problem isn't going to go away. And so as someone who's read the LA Times the last year, anyone who's lives in that area can state undeniably there are huge problems in Vernon, and that city is not really working as intended. The corruption is undeniable. We talked about revisiting this next year, and I wanted to sort of follow Senator DeSaulnier on the concept of a trigger that maybe could be explored one way or another after this vote is taken to today. If you're looking at the good work Senator DeLeon has done on reforms, and there's a list, and I read the multi-page letter at 7 a.m. on a flight coming from LA, Senator DeLeon the other morning. A lot of good suggestions in that. But is there a way to put in a trigger in the language that if this isn't done in a year, then that will happen? That way we would know that everyone's intent is to get past this, improve the problems in not only Vernon, look at other options as perhaps suggested by Senator Alan Lowenthal on annexation to adjacent city. I've been following also the concerns with LA County, But this is a problem that will not go away, and once we stop shining the bright light of reform on Vernon, I'm worried we may be ignoring the problem, and it's in everyone's best interest. And what I'm particularly care about, of course, as someone who's concerned about air quality, and perhaps this is why Speaker Perez is so passionate about the issue, is not just solving the corruption there, but the air pollution and health impacts by the people in the adjacent communities, the homes, the children that lie next door to this largely industrial city. And that's why organizations like Mothers of East LA and Coalition for Clean Air, and the list goes on, is also very involved and concerned about keeping the status quo in Vernon the way it is and not working collaboratively together to allow the jobs to stay put, clean up the environment, perhaps set up a community benefits fund like Senator De Leon has articulated in his reforms. But could we go back and revisit the trigger? I think that's a good idea, and that would ensure we get to where we all think this should end up being resolved.
Senator Anderson.
I rise in opposition to this. I know that some of the good senators have said 150 citizens is not make a city. But let's just pretend this is an enterprise zone. We've got 1,800 businesses, over 50,000 people employed. I would say that's a very successful enterprise zone. And if the administration of the enterprise zone was failing the enterprise zone, what would we do? We wouldn't say no more enterprise zone. We would say, let's repair the enterprise zone. We know that former AG John Vandekamp is in there right now with reforms. We see a trigger program that's being presented that makes sense, that addresses the problems. Why are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater? This is an area that's producing more jobs than they have citizens. I would love to have it in my district. And yeah, I get there's corruption, but we can fix the corruption. It's a lot harder to chase the jobs if they leave the state. All I ask is whether you believe it should be a city or not, please think about the ramifications of losing those jobs, because when I've talked to those owners, they said the reason why they're there is because this is the best place in all of California to do business. Let's not kill the last bastion, the last real enterprise zone we have in California. I ask that we be thoughtful as we move forward. We have to address all the reforms and make sure that there isn't any more corruption going on. But at the end of the day, let's send a strong signal to business that we care about jobs and we want to put people back to work. Thank you.
Senator Hancock.
Thank you, Senator Kehoe. Many of us, as the Speaker indicated, are torn between different principles and perhaps not fully having vetted the different sets of facts that are before us. We know that we're against corruption, inflated pensions, the kind of corruption that demeans government and that causes citizens to lose faith in our ability to govern ourselves. I found Senator Wolk's remarks that this really is not a city very persuasive. This really is an industrial park with a corrupt board of directors. And I am concerned that although the reforms that have been worked on by former Attorney General Vandekamp and that Senator De Leon has put forward, and I'm very grateful to him for putting forward specific things that may be done, there really is no oversight of whether or not they would ever be implemented. So I did raise the issue, as Senator DeSaulnier indicated, that I thought we should have some kind of trigger put into the bill so that if the reforms as outlined by Senator De Leon and I would say overseen by an independent organization, possibly the Center for Governmental Studies, that there would be a trigger of disincorporation. If, however, the reforms were implemented, we would have a community with a few houses, many industries, that would be run in an honest way to benefit the taxpayers. Now, I have to say, I understand that it's in the rules, but I have not ever seen it used in the 9 years I've been in this House. And I would ask you, Madam President, or the Secretary of the Senate, is it possible to make an amendment from the floor?
The Secretary is advising us that Senator Hancock, it would any amendment before the House would be in ledge council form, so we wouldn't take it up verbally.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Let
Senator.
me say that I will be voting for the bill today then, but I hope if the bill does get out that we would move forward to do some of the more deliberative things that I've outlined.
Senator De Leon. And then if there's no other speakers, we'll go to Senator Woke for her close. Senator De Leon.
Thank you, Madam President, as well as colleagues, members of this prestigious House. I stand to voice my concerns with the measure that we have at hand. This is a measure that I believe, plain and simple, would impact the jobs of over 55,000 individuals, women and men. In today's current economic climate, given the fact that we have 12% unemployment and that it's growing, in addition to that, we have 2.1 million individuals in terms of raw numbers who are unemployed in the state of California. This makes this a very difficult measure. My fellow members, I know that you spent quite a bit of time agonizing over how to stimulate our economy and create more jobs. So I know that you don't take this measure very lightly. Neither do I. As you know, and there are many individuals on this floor here today, I joined the Speaker in co-authoring this bill late last year. As I explored the situation in much more detail, I came to one conclusion. You simply do not build something with a sledgehammer. It's just that simple. This bill seeks a dramatically better governance structure for Vernon, which has unquestionably has had well-chronicled problems. But this is not the way out. I have proposed an alternative plan that seeks to do three things: institute permanent and lasting reforms. Senator Hancock had brought up the Center for Governmental Studies that's headed up by Bob Stern, who was the former co-chair of the FPCC. He would be part of the independent oversight of these reforms. 2, create mitigation for the long-suffering neighboring communities that have been borne the brunt of Vernon's short-sightedness and misdealings. And 3, just as important, preserve jobs, jobs, jobs. This measure accomplishes none of these. And not only does it not accomplish any of these mandatory goals, it seeks to saddle the County of Los Angeles with all of Vernon's debts and risks. Is that a wise plan? I can tell you emphatically, it is not. As we move forward with this issue, there is consensus and agreement across the board, Republicans or Democrats. We're all against corruption. That's common sense. No one is more against corruption than the other individual. We all are against corruption, period. How do we move forward and institute aggressive reforms aggressive reforms that have teeth and that are meaningful. That is the question right now before us. Many of you have read the letter, a 7-page letter, maybe similar to War and Peace. I apologize if it was a little too long. But I articulate and detail the reforms that I have put forth that, as of today, the City of Vernon has accepted. Los Angeles County has made it clear enough that they have too many challenges and they don't want to take on many more. As the media has repeated several times in recent stories, what I have proposed, again, let me underscore and emphasize, are substantial and aggressive reforms that will transform Vernon, but not leave the unintended victims. The unintended victims are the women and men, the 55,000 individuals who rely on a good paying job, and let me say, a good union paying job. These are the individuals that we must protect. Thankfully, the city has adopted these reforms at a special city council meeting last week, and that begins a dramatic overhaul of the cesspool that has long governed it. Now, I find it a little reprehensible and quite insulting when, and with all due respect to some of my colleagues, when Republican Governor Rick Perry aggressively sends a letter from Texas to our businesses in California, but specifically to Vernon, trying to get them to go to Texas. I don't know about you, but I like my Tapatio hot sauce made in California, not in Texas. So we have a responsibility to do everything possible to clean up corruption and at the same time balance the needs by protecting real jobs, real lives, real families. Let me give you an idea of some of the reforms for greater transparency and accountability. 1, implement charter reform via the election at the earliest possible date, which has been done. Removes at-will provision in the charter. Establishes council term limits. Establishes a salary and benefit limits for senior city officials. Prohibits the council from appointing successors. Removes a provision that limits the ability to remove the city administrator. Removes a provision prohibiting transfers from the general fund to the Light and Power, POU. Adds a provision for prevailing wage in city contracts. Establishes an open and competitive bidding process on service and personnel contracts that's promptly posted on the city's website that requires details in those contracts. 2, the Van de Kamp recommendations. Implements the recommendations as quickly as possible. That's above and beyond these reforms. That's above and beyond these reforms. And then again, this is Bob Stern, who will be overseeing as an independent auditor with those powers and those teeth. The electorate. 3, we double the electorate, establishing an independent housing commission. Not a housing commission, but an independent housing commission. We spin off the city's current housing stock to the Independent Housing Commission and construct approximately 50 new housing units with significant affordable components. Independent monitor reform. The list goes on and on and on, and I won't get into the Good Neighbor program because I think Ms. Pavley articulated very well. They haven't been the greatest neighbor when it comes to sulfur dioxide, NOx, particulate matter 10, as well as 2.5. AB 781 locks in the status quo for 10 years and doesn't deal with the environmental justice issues that Vernon historically has suffered for years and years and years. I think this is a moderate, fine, balanced approach of how we can move forward with real aggressive reforms. And I think it's been said openly and publicly, and it's on the record. It's on the record for anyone who wants to use it politically. It's on the record that we will move forward with aggressive reforms, and if they do not acquiesce to those reforms, do not implement them, then we revisit this issue immediately, as soon as possible, and we go forward with what we have to do. The world is watching. California is watching. This is not Pyongyang, North Korea. This is not Albania or some former Soviet republic. No one's going to know what's happening.
Easy, kiddo.
This is right now, the world is watching, the cameras are watching, the press is watching. If they don't implement the aggressive reforms with teeth, we simply move forward with what we have to do collectively as a body. With that, colleagues, I respectfully ask for a no vote.
Any further debate, members? Any further debate? Seeing none, Senator Woke, you may close.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you to all my colleagues who have argued so intensely on both sides of this issue and have shared with us other suggestions and concerns about the bill. I want to speak to just a couple issues and close. The key to Vernon's reform, or the reform in any community, is an electorate that acts. No matter how good government these reforms may be, without a strong, independent electorate, they won't happen. If you have a council, if you have council changes in terms of the terms or preventing them from appointing their successors, regular elections, all of that. If you read the reforms closely, the council would still retain the ability to extend or eliminate the term limits in the future. The same is true with the salary adjustments. The same is true with the voluntary salary reductions. The elimination of the certain health benefits that have been chronicled. All of this has been chronicled in the LA Times. The council can reverse those decisions. The creation of a housing commission, who appoints them, what powers they have. It is the city council that will act. And again, without an independent electorate, these reforms will not happen. The leaders of the corrupt past are still in charge of the corrupt present. The people charged with reform are the problem. It is a draconian action to disincorporate a city. And I found very interesting the discussion about whether or not this is truly a city. And if it were organized in a different fashion, we wouldn't have the same oversight or obligation to take this kind of action. At the Senate Governance and Finance Committee, in the hearing, a gentleman spoke about the rotten borough concept. We had rotten boroughs in England for many, many years. What were they? They had a small electorate. They were used to gain disproportionate influence in government. They were controlled, the boroughs, the cities, the boroughs, were controlled by their peers, unelected. They selected sometimes relatives, sometimes themselves, or friends, to run the boroughs. And it wasn't until 1832, when there was a Reform Act that was finally put through, when 57 of them, these rotten boroughs, were disenfranchised, and their populations were redistributed to the major population centers. This is not a real city. This is not a real city. Without a truly independent electorate, which 96 people are not, and with their history, disincorporation is an appropriate remedy. I ask for your aye vote.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist? Aye. Anderson? No. Berryhill? No. Blakesley? Calderon? No. Cannella? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. De Leon? No. DeSaulnier? Dutton? No. Emerson? No. Evans? Aye. Fuller? No. Gaines? No. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hernandez? Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Negrete McLeod. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. No. Rubio. Runner. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. No. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Blakesley. No. Desaulnier. Harmon. Hernandez. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Negrete McLeod. Pavley. Rubio. Runner.
Call the absent members.
Desaulnier. Harmon. Hernandez. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Negrete McLeod. Pavley. Rubio. Runner.
Senator Wolk moves a call. Senator Wolk lifts the call. We'll call the roll one more time, members, and then we'll close the roll. The secretary will call the absent members.
Desaulnier. Harmon. Hernandez. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Negrete McLeod. Pavley. Rubio. Runner.
Members, that's ayes 13, noes 17. Measure fails. Senator Gaines. Senator Gaines at Senator Steinberg's desk for an introduction. Then I'll go to Senator Vargas. And we are under motions and resolutions. Privileges of the floor.
Great. Thank you, Madam President and members.
Senator Gaines.
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce members of the Sacramento Mountain Lions United Football League team and its ownership. This year is the second season for Sacramento with the Mountain Lions, who play at Sacramento State. The team began play as the California Redwoods in October 2009 in San Francisco. The home opener for the team is September 17th. My wife's birthday, by the chance, and by the way, and maybe we'll be going to that game together. I'll talk to her about that. But the team will be hosting a season kickoff party on September 6th, which will be free to fans. Sacramento has a proud history of supporting their sports teams, and this year's kickoff season in Sacramento for the Mountain Lions averaged almost 20,000 fans per game.
Thank you. If I might introduce some of the dignitaries we have here. We have head coach. All of you have been football fans for years, know the former Minnesota Vikings coach, former assistant with the San Francisco 49ers during the Super Bowl era. Dennis Green is with us, the head coach. Give him a big hand. We have team owner Paul Pelosi is here. Please welcome Mr. Pelosi, well known. Team owner, Sacramento's own Angelo Sakopoulos, Megan and David Vincent, the official representatives of team owner David Lucchetti, Senior Vice President Joe Wagner, Russ Edmondson, Corey Ross, who's one of the players, the 2010 UFL Offensive Player of the Year, and Jason Stewart, who's the starting tackle. Look at, we don't know how the Northern California football teams are going to do in the NFL this year, so we're putting a lot of stock in the Mountain Lions here. Thank you all for coming. We're really glad you're here.
Welcome to the Mountain Lions. Welcome to the Mountain Lions. All right, members, Senator Vargas. Senator Vargas, for what purpose?
Under motions and resolutions.
Go without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move to reconsider the vote on Assembly Bill 243, Item 206 by Assemblymember Alejo that I presented earlier. There was some issues with chaptering, so I'd like to reconsider the vote so those issues can be worked out.
And the file item, Senator 206.
Yes.
The file item is 206. Members, this is going to take a roll call vote. Yeah, he already told me. It's going to take a roll call vote on the reconsideration. The bill will not be taken up again today. That's my understanding. So we're at file item 206. Motion to reconsider. The secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Cannella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Emerson. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Gaines. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Tedlu. Aye. Carol Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee.
Call the absent
Yee.
members.
Aye. Berryhill. Blakesley. Blakesley. No. Cannella. Correa. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. Fuller. Gaines. No. Harmon. Runner. Steinberg. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Berryhill, no.
Ayes 24, noes 10. Reconsideration is granted. Members, we have one item on call before we go to gubernatorial appointments. This is file item 207, AB 261. The secretary will call the absent members.
Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Huff. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Price. Aye. Runner. Yee. Yee, aye. Huff, aye.
Ayes 26, noes 12. That measure passes. Senator Steinberg. Oh, Senator Hernandez, do you have an item? For what purpose, Senator Hernandez?
I have an announcement to make. Senate Health will be meeting upon adjournment of session in room 3191.
Thank you, Senator Hernandez. Senate Health will meet in 3191 upon adjournment. Senator Steinberg, at your desk.
Thank you. If I might take up a series of appointments, should be able to run through this relatively quickly, beginning with item 75.
Without objection. File item 75, members.
Thank you. This is the confirmation of Roy Ashburn as a member of the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. We know Senator Ashburn all very well, as he was our colleague and a hard-working senator, and he's a hard-working...
Senator Steinberg, just one moment. Members, can we have some quiet on the floor and take up the governor's appointees? Senator Steinberg.
Hard-working senator and now a hard-working member of this board. He was heard on Rules Committee on the 17th of August, approved on a 3-to-1 vote, with Senator Fuller voting no and Senator De Leon being absent. I'd urge an aye vote on the nomination of our former colleague, Roy Ashburn.
Debate or discussion, members? Senator Anderson. Senator Anderson. Senator Anderson.
Not on yet.
Is your mic on yet?
I don't. Yeah, now I am. Thank you. I don't doubt Senator Ashburn's abilities or qualifications. This is one of those boards or commissions that I don't support. And I'm just going to say once today that if I'm voting against these people, it's not a reflection of whether I think that they're qualified. I just question whether we should be appointing people to this board because I don't believe that this board should exist. Under these appointments, I think it could be done administratively. So with that, I will be voting no, but I just want to make sure that there's a clarification. Thank you.
Any further debate on Senator Ashburn? Seeing none, Senator Steinberg, would you care to close?
Can I vote, please?
Call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe.
Aye.
Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. No. Vargas. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee.
Call the absent members.
Dutton. No. Gaines. Harmon. LaMalfa. Runner. Vargas.
Ayes 31, noes 4. The appointment is confirmed. Senator Steinberg, I think you're taking up file item 76.
File item 76. This is the nomination of Robert S. Dresser as the chair of the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. Mr. Dresser is eminently qualified, and under his leadership, the board has made significant compliance towards significant progress, towards federal compliance. He was heard in the Rules Committee 4-0 vote on the 17th of August, with Senator De Leon absent. I'd urge an aye vote on this very fine leader at this difficult time.
Debate or discussion? Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Blake. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg.
Aye.
Aye. Strickland. No. Vargas. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye.
Call the absent members.
Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Ted Lieu. Aye. Runner. Vargas. Wolk. Wolk. Aye.
That is ayes 33, noes 4. The appointment is confirmed. Next item, Senator Steinberg, is file item 78.
Yes, Madam President, thank you. This is the confirmation of Ronald Yank as the Director of the Department of Personnel Administration. I've judged somebody not on what they say they'll do, but on what they do. In his first 6 months in office, he brought home every collective bargaining agreement that had not yet been done in very difficult circumstances. I urge an aye vote on Ron Yank.
Members, is there debate or discussion? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye.
Call the absent members.
Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Carol Lieu. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Runner. Steinberg. Aye. Vargas. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The appointee is confirmed. Next item is file item 85.
Thank you, Madam President. Two more sets to go here. File item 85 is the following. Danielle Paxson is a member of the State Building Standards Commission. Sarah R. Olson is a member of the Commission on State Mandates. Jean-Pierre Wolfe, Ph.D., is a member of the Water Quality Control Board Central Coast Region. Sandra O. Meraz is a member of the Water Quality Board Central Valley Region. Jack L. Clark and Peter C. Pumphrey as members of the Water Quality Control Board Lahontan Region. Charles M. Stringer is a member of the Water Quality Control Board Los Angeles Region. David M. Noren is a member of the Water Quality Control Board North Coast Region. And Gary W. Strawn is a member of the Water Quality Control Board San Diego Region. All heard on the 24th of August and approved on a 5-0 vote. I'd urge an aye vote on this set of nominees.
Any debate or discussion, members? Any debate? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Huff. Aye. Kehoe.
Aye.
Aye. LaMalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg.
Aye.
Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee.
Call the
Yee,
absent
aye.
members.
De Leon. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Runner.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The nominees are confirmed. Appointees are. Very good. Next file item is 86.
Last but not least for today, members, file item 86. This is Buford Kreitz as a member of the Water Quality Control Board, Colorado River Basin Region. Amy L. Horn, Ph.D., a member of the Water Quality Control Board, Lahontan Region. Francine B. Diamond as a member of the Water Quality Control Board, Los Angeles region, and Terry F. Young, PhD, as a member of the Water Quality Control Board, San Francisco Bay. These appointees were heard in rules on the 24th of August and approved on a 3-2 vote, with Senators Fuller and Harmon voting no. We urge an aye vote on I urge an aye vote on this nomination.
Members, is there any debate or discussion? Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, the Secretary will call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Berryhill. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Evans. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe.
Aye.
Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Canella. No. Emerson. No. Gaines. No. Harmon. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Runner. Steinberg. Blakesley. Aye to no. Huff. Aye to no. Wyland. Aye to no. Dutton. Aye to no.
Ayes 24, noes 13. The appointees are confirmed. We'll go to motions and resolutions, members, and I'll call on Senator LaMalfa and then Senator Wolk. Senator LaMalfa.
Got to heat that mic. There.
Senator LaMalfa.
Thank you, Madam President. At the request of the author, Senator Runner, please return SB 933, which is file item 91, to the Assembly for further action.
Without objection, Senator. And the desk will note, and then Senator Wolk.
At the request of the author, I would like to move file item 5, AB 781, to the inactive file.
Without objection, Senator, and the desk will note. Members, I think we're prepared to move to special consent. Does any member wish to remove an item from special consent? It's two resolutions. And the Secretary will read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 54 and Assembly Concurrent Resolution 62.
Any objection to a unanimous roll call? Excellent. Unanimous roll call is adopted. The resolutions are passed. 38-0. Any further business to come before the Senate today, members? Senator Steinberg, Senator Fuller, thank you so much. I'm glad somebody's there to catch my pitch. Senator Fuller, for what purpose?
When the desk is clear. When the desk is clear.
I think the desk is clear, Senator Fuller.
The Senate will be in recess until approximately 4:30, at which time the adjournment motion will be made. We will reconvene Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Tomorrow, Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thank you, Senator Fuller. All right, members, then the Senate will be in recess until later today, and we will adjourn. The adjournment motion will be made then, and we will reconvene tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're in recess.